I'm sorry that we've had a rough start, but we have a really great topic that we're going to be talking about tonight. So hopefully we will get more people joining us. Hi, Natalie from California. No, you didn't miss it. Okay, excellent. We are going to just go ahead and hopefully get everybody that was on the other one. We can make a post also in the event itself. Sarah, if you don't mind doing that for us, just so everybody kind of knows to head on over this way, get to our video. The other one was just having some trouble, and we'll just go ahead and get going. But yes, please jump on. Let us know where you're from. Hi, Alyssa, Kay, Edval. I think I'm hopefully saying that right. It's so nice to have you guys on with us. I don't know if anybody here is in the Southeast right now. I wouldn't be surprised if many are not with the hurricane that's going on, but we sure are thinking of you guys and hoping everybody is safe and your animals are safe. But as we get started, wanted to let you guys know, kind of like what we usually do, we are really excited to be able to offer some free product coupons to a few winners tonight. We'll have 2 for this evening. So right now, if you wouldn't mind, and actually this would really help considering that we had a rough time getting our video set up, if you can go ahead and share this current live video on your Facebook page right now, make sure it's public so we can see that you share it. But one person who shares it is going to win some Standlee free product coupons. We will also select someone towards the end, a random person to win some free product coupons. And then if you complete the survey at the end of this Facebook Live, we will have that open until next Wednesday, and we will select one person to win there. So there's 3 chances for you to win some free product coupons, and I know you guys are always excited to get some coupons from us. So Beyond the Barn, who listens to our podcast, the Beyond the Barn podcast? Do we have anybody on with us tonight that listens? We have a new episode that we just released this week. It is What Can Happen If Horses Don't Drink Enough Water. Great episode. We talk a lot about the importance of water, dehydration signs, some tips for getting your tanks clean, your troughs clean, keeping water from freezing in the winter. We had some really good ideas there. And next episode is going to release on September 12th. Really excited about this one. If we have any mule owners in this, we have Clay Newcomb, who is the host of the Bear Grace podcast, and he's also a content creator for the hunting and conservation media group Meat Eater. He is going to be joining us to talk about his experience hunting with mules. He didn't grow up with horses or equines, and so he kind of taught a lot of stuff himself. Taught himself a lot of things, and it's such a great interview. So I hope you guys will tune in for that episode. And then other than that, if you have any podcast ideas or topic ideas or feedback, please feel free to email us at podcast@standlee.com. And Reb, I see that you listened to them. Thank you so much. If you haven't listened before, please go ahead and check those out. My background, just so you know, I have worked for Standlee for about 7 years. Prior to that, I went to school at the University of Idaho, got degrees in ag business and then animal science with a production option. Grew up in Central Oregon, but then I headed over to Idaho, and I've been here with Standlee for the last 7 years with my husband. We raised some commercial cattle, and that's a little bit about me. And Dr. Cubitt, would you share just a little bit about yourself for anybody who's new and joining us?
Absolutely. And I look very distracted. I have to say, I burned myself cooking my kids' dinner tonight. The air fryer is not safe. And I just texted my husband, bring me an ice pack, bring me an ice pack. So that's why I'm like staring around the room. But anyway, I'm originally from Australia. I moved here in 2001 and went to grad school at Virginia Tech, did a master's and PhD in equine nutrition. My master's really focused on the young growing horse. It was a 420-acre thoroughbred breeding farm, but I had those growing horses and all the forage research that we were able to do. And then my PhD was really forage based, but with the emphasis on reproduction. I now work for and co-own a company called Performance Horse Nutrition, and we are the nutritionists for Standlee Premium Western Forage. And I do a lot of teaching across the country with all kinds of horse owners and veterinarians and universities, and keeping the sales reps for our different clients up to date, helping with new product development. And I just really enjoy being a resource for horse owners.
And we really love having you on our team. You guys are such an asset to us, so we appreciate it. I want I'm going to welcome your guys' questions here very shortly, but we thought it would be great to start off this Facebook Live talking just some high level, little bit about a few common types of hay that we feed horses. And I also brought some samples with me to show you so you can kind of visually see some of those. But as before we get started with that, I'm curious to know if you wouldn't mind commenting what type of forage or hay do you currently feed your horses? You could say, if maybe it's alfalfa, maybe you do an alfalfa Timothy mix, or so please just comment so we kind of have an idea of what everybody likes to feed their horses and animals. Okay, alfalfa, Teff, excellent. Lori says beet pulp and alfalfa. Excellent. Bermuda grass, okay. Alfalfa Bermuda. Some brome in there. Okay, grass mix from your own fields. Excellent. Okay. No, that's great. So as we get started, like I said, we're going to show just a few quick slides, but be thinking about your questions. Make sure that you are giving us as much information as you can. The kind of activity level that your horse is in, if they're underweight, overweight. When you talk about what you feed your horse, please provide not scoops, but weight versus volume. That gives Dr. Cubitt the best idea of what she's looking at to kind of help your situation. And then also know that, realize that not if this is not a one size fits all. So just because Dr. Cubitt talks about a certain type of horse and situation and what, you could be feeding that horse, you don't live in the same environment as you always, or maybe they're not feeding the exact same type of feed, or maybe that horse is just not the same. So keep that in mind as we talk through these. And if you have any specific questions about your situation that you would like to reach out and talk to us directly one-on-one, just let us know, because that's why Dr. Cubitt and Dr. Duran are here, is to help support us and to support you through your feeding journey with your horses. And so as we get started, I am going to show a few slides here. I'm going to share this screen with you guys so you can kind of see what we're looking at. Bear with me as I just get this uploaded and ready for you. And hopefully it'll pop up here in just a minute. Oh, it would if I have it on the right screen. There we go. Okay, I think everybody can see that now. I'm going to pop this banner off so it doesn't bug everybody. Okay, so the first one that I would like, Dr. Cubitt, if you wouldn't mind touching on, is alfalfa.
Absolutely. Alfalfa. Now, sometimes when people hear the word alfalfa, they have oh gosh, I can't feed alfalfa. As we go through each of these forages, know that everything has a time and a place. And whilst it may or may not be appropriate for your horse in that moment, you never want to disregard it, because maybe it could be great for the next horse you have. So alfalfa is a legume. So it's not a grass, it's a legume, which means that it's like a fertilizer to the soil. So I like to grow alfalfa, but it's very high in protein. But when I say that, again, don't be nervous about that. It's very good quality protein for horses. So it's high in that amino acid lysine. So young growing horses, heavily exercising horses, this is an excellent choice for them. Brood mares, higher in energy than most of your other grasses, but it's also very low in sugars and starches. And I think that there is a myth that because of the high energy or calorie content, that it's also high in sugars and starches, but it's absolutely the opposite. It's very low in sugars and starches. So for those horses that maybe need to gain some extra weight or have some metabolic issues like tying up, where they can not have a lot of sugars and starches, alfalfa is excellent for them.
And we want to kind of show you, we grabbed these samples. So this is obviously not a flake of hay. So keep that in mind. But we grabbed this a few samples so you guys can kind of see what alfalfa is. It's got the leaves there. And we'll go to our next slide.
Okay, so Timothy, now we get into the more common grass species that we see in a lot of our hays. Timothy and orchard grass. Timothy, this is what we call a cool season grass. So if you have ever seen it growing in a field or you have it in your fields, you know that in the spring and the fall where the temperatures are cooler, that's when we see the most predominant growth in these plant species. Moderate protein and energy, lower in your calcium and phosphorus compared to legumes. You know, one of the other benefits to alfalfa is it's very high in calcium. Um, but Timothy grass can be higher in sugars and starches than, or primarily sugars, than your alfalfa. It really all depends on the growing conditions and the time that it was cut. But because of the way grasses store energy, any of your grasses, your cool season grasses, can be higher in those sugars than a legume.
And here's another sample of some Timothy. And I'm trying to do this so I don't.
Pull out the seed head, Katie, and
Yep,
show
yep.
that.
So there's the grass, but yes, I did want to show the stem or the seed head as well, just because it's a pretty recognizable. And I apologize, the camera's probably not going to pick up a real close shot,
It is
but you
it
can
is now if you
see,
hold it still. Yeah.
yeah, if you see, you can see the picture in the slide, and then this is what it looks like dry. So that's what you would recognizably see as Timothy.
Timothy, and obviously in your Timothy pellets or your chopped product, you're not going to see that seed head. And I don't even think that you see a lot of seed head in our Timothy hay or compressed bales, because once you see the seed head, it's quite mature. So typically in the Standlee products, you won't see a lot of seed head, but that is a characteristic of the Timothy grass. Now, orchard grass, another cool season grass. So if you see it growing, it will proliferate more in the spring and fall in those cooler seasons. Moderate in protein and energy. I feel like I'm just repeating what I said for Timothy. But with orchard grass, it does tend to have a little higher nutritive value compared to Timothy. And again, depending on the growing conditions and the harvesting conditions, is definitely going to have higher sugar content than your um, legumes like alfalfa. Now, I'm not saying exactly what the sugar content is because it all depends on the growing conditions and the climate. And the only way in a product that is not a bagged product to know what the sugar and starch content is to get it tested. The benefit to buying anything in a bag is when it goes in a bag, it now has to have a guaranteed analysis on it. Now that's a legally binding document. And so we certainly have those values available to you when it's the bagged products. And if you have any questions about any of the products, certainly just call in or ask question on our Facebook group. We're very transparent and like to be a resource and give clients or customers the numbers that they would like.
Right. And so here is some of the orchard grass hay. And then again, you're not going to see many of them, but there are occasionally some. That's that recognizable head that you can see for orchard grass. Looks like the picture just dried.
Yeah.
So, and next one we have up.
So your oat grass, not as common, but we have the alfalfa oat grass pellets. Again, another cool season. Now it's harvested prior to seeding out. So all of the nutrition is still in the plant and hasn't gone to the seed head. And that's why we don't like to harvest products or plants when they have a strong seed head, because all the nutrients go into the seed head and you have less nutrients in the actual plant material. So harvested a little less mature. It's a little lower, low to moderate in protein and energy, lower in calcium and phosphorus, low starches, and can be higher in those sugars again. And I think one of the myths about oatgrass is you see the word oat and you immediately assume, oh my gosh, my horse can't have this. It's very high in sugars and starches because it's got oats in it. No, it's the plant prior to putting nutrition and starch into that oat. So actually it's a little lower in energy and protein than your Timothy or orchard grass. And so we have the alfalfa oat grass, which kind of gives you a bit of both. The alfalfa drives up the protein a little bit, good quality fiber, continues to maintain this as a low starch product. So that is your oat grass.
And you'll see in this picture that there is seed head. So when it is harvested, the seed head will it'll be harvested after the seed head comes out, but before the seed itself actually establishes within the seed head. And so that's what separates it away from that grain that most commonly people think that it is when it's actually an oat grass hay. So, and I wasn't able to get my hands on that. Unfortunately, we do this as a mixed product, our alfalfa oatgrass pellets. So we're going to go ahead and go to the next hay that we have available.
Yeah. And now we get into some varieties that are relatively new. I mean, I feel like they're new, but I, as an undergraduate, as a graduate student, I should say, graduate student, which is, I don't even want to say how long ago. I feel like it was just yesterday, but it's been about 20 years
It's been a minute.
since I was in grad school. But anyway, I remember doing some early research on Teff grass hay way back then, but now it's definitely a little bit more commercially available. It's a warm season grass. Which means it actually proliferates more, grows more in the warmer climates, moderate protein and energy, lower in calcium, phosphorus, again, pretty high in fiber, which is a good thing. Unlike your cool season grasses that are higher in sugars, both varieties of sugar, teff acts a little bit more like a legume, and it is low in starch and those sugars. So teff is the Jenny Craig feed, if for lack of a better word. It is great for any horse that suffers from metabolic issues, be it obesity, laminitis, crusty neck, insulin resistance, and is also in good body condition or maybe a little overweight because it's lower in energy than something like alfalfa.
Right. And we were able to get some teff grass, although we have it in our teff grass pellets. But just so you can kind of see what it looks like as a hay, without getting it all over my computer, you can kind of see that teff grass there. And the next one, our last one, although we don't have it ourselves at Standlee, this is something that a lot of horse owners do feed as it is locally available. So I think it's important for us to talk about this hay as well.
Okay, and when you showed me these slides earlier, and I said, yeah, they're fine. And I should have picked up here. I think Bermuda grass, as an umbrella term, gets a bad rap because most people assimilate, as we've done on the slide, Bermuda grass equals coastal Bermuda grass. But it is coastal Bermuda grass is one variety of Bermuda grass as a genre. And I have actually seen some Bermuda grass grown in Texas. I know things do grow in Texas, but I've seen Bermuda grass come out of Texas that was beautiful, high protein, high calorie, was really, really nice. But in general, the coastal Bermuda grass variety, again, another warm season grass, all Bermuda grass is a warm season grass, but the coastal variety that most of our listeners will be more familiar with and maybe have that feeling about is the coastal, low in protein and energy, high in fiber. It is low in sugars and starches, but one of the issues is it's very fine. And if you think about the digestive tract, there are tiny little muscles all along your digestive tract that contract, and we call that peristaltic contractions. And that pushes the food continually through your digestive system, right? It doesn't just randomly float along or magically. It actually gets pushed along. And in order for those muscles to contract or to know that there's food there are these little things called stretch receptors, and they stretch out the intestine, and then the muscles engage and they push it along. Bermuda grass is very fine, and sometimes it doesn't engage those stretch receptors. So and because it's pretty high in non-digestible fiber, impaction colic with very mature coastal Bermuda grass hay is one of the issues that some older horses or horses that don't have good dentition have suffered from. And in some areas where those populations or demographics of horses are strong, then people get a little concerned about coastal Bermuda grass hay. My thing is, it's usually pretty inexpensive, and if you're going to feed it, add it to something that has a little bit more substance to it. So add it to some orchard or some timothy or some alfalfa that is going to add a little bit more stem, a little bit more leaf, a little more structure so that it will engage those stretch receptors. But that is my 2 cents on coastal Bermuda grass.
Yep. And then just really quickly, just to kind of show you some different, this is our chopped Timothy. So you can kind of see it's just more into pieces.
Go towards your elbow more. The green screen
More.
is in our way. Yeah, that's better.
There we go. Can we see
Yeah.
that okay?
Yeah.
There. I'll just drop that, not on my keyboard. And then we're all, fairly familiar, I think, with some of these formats, but just to kind of also show, we have our alfalfa cubes that can break apart like that. And then lastly, we'll see how this one goes, is our pellets.
Up higher. Yeah, that nice. Oh, yeah. Look at that.
Try to make a nice little heart there. So that is everything kind of in a nutshell about some of the main types of hay. So go ahead and, as I mentioned, start your questions and comments. Because we got a late start, as long as everybody on here is on board for it, we're going to extend this out so we give you guys as much time as we can to get your questions in. Because it's not fair, I don't think, for any of us, that we had some technical difficulties. But so pop your questions in. If you feel like we missed your question, please put it in again. And we will make sure that we catch it maybe on the second round. So the first one, let's get started on this one. So Jennifer would like to know, can alfalfa cause sludge in the kidneys?
Oh, that I don't know what sludge in the kidneys is per se. That is a new terminology for me. But the thing with alfalfa is if your horse already has some kidney damage or some kidneys that aren't functioning as well as they should, maybe from an infection, but that has been diagnosed by your veterinarian, then any high protein ingredients should be kept lower in the diet. Alfalfa by itself is not going to cause those issues in your horse. That being said, alfalfa is pretty high in protein, and they do need to kind of, when they break down that protein and excrete it, it's ammonia, and they need to flush that out. So horses that have a high alfalfa diet can sometimes have strong ammonia smelling urine. You just want to make sure that they have free choice access to fresh, clean water all the time.
Excellent. And Tina would like to know, I am feeding 5 pounds twice a day of alfalfa pellets with flax and ration balancer, free choice grass, and adding alfalfa for my underweight and lactating wild Mustang.
Sounds good. I mean, as long as you are, so let's say your Mustang is I'm going to go with 1,000 pounds, even if she's slightly less than that. We want to make sure that she is consuming at least 1.5% of her body weight per day in fiber. So that would be a minimum of 15 pounds a day. I'm assuming she's getting some, yep, she's getting free choice grass and adding alfalfa. So I'm assuming she's probably getting at least 15 pounds. But the alfalfa pellets are a great way to kind of less waste than alfalfa hay sometimes, especially for me out here on the East Coast where alfalfa hay is hard to come by, and so every bit of it, I don't want to waste it. But that looked like a fine diet.
Excellent. And Reb would like to know, do horses need more than just grass hay? It has nothing special in it. There are several types of grasses, I'm sure, but has lots of weeds also. What would be good supplement if needed?
Oh, but Reb, grass has everything special in it. Um, Maybe you're just saying yours doesn't have anything special in it, but ultimately, horses, the foundation of their diet is grass. It's fiber, it's dry matter. And depending on what you're expecting your horse to do as to what we build on top of that. Now, I will tell you that even the best quality hay from anywhere, Standlee included, I guarantee is going to be deficient in copper, zinc, and selenium. All right. So we do need to make sure that we're at least doing a vitamin and mineral supplement or a ration balancer. Um, to complement the hay. Then, if you're expecting your horse to gain weight, lactate, then we need to add. But for most horses at maintenance that are not hard or easy keepers, grass hay and a mineral supplement of some kind is all they need.
Excellent. Okay. Oh, hang on. Sorry, I lost my place. Okay. Kay says Timothy pellets, supplements including forage balancer, mixed grass.
And
How do you say
Bahia,
that? Bahai?
Bahia,
Hay?
Bahia.
Bahia.
Yeah, and I will have to say that I don't know a lot about Bahia, but yes, I can message you afterwards if you have more questions about Bahia, and I can get a little bit more up to date on Bahia. But other than that, as long again, like the original comment to the earlier listener was, as long as this horse is getting at least 1.5, I really prefer 2.5% of their body weight in some kind of fiber, and you can add your Timothy pellets into the mix. Let's say you're doing 15 pounds of Bahia grass and you're doing 5 pounds of Timothy pellets, then we're at 2% of the horse's body weight, then that's fine. And then the forage balancer, yeah, again, if that is meeting the caloric requirements, your horse is maintaining its body weight, then it's certainly giving it all the vitamins it needs.
Excellent. And Kate, please reach out to us. Go ahead and email us at podcast@standlee.com, and we'll throw that in the comments so you know what that email is. But reach out to us, and Dr. Cubitt will touch base with you on that a little bit more. So another one, Jennifer says, is it bad for horses to eat straw?
Oh, yeah, it kind of goes back to the coastal. While straw is not really fine, it's pretty much all non-digestible fiber, so it can cause impaction colic as well. Now I have personally not done, but there has been research done looking at feeding straw to fat horses, really fat horses, to give them some bulk and something to eat without, a lot of extra calories. But I think it was ground finally. It might have even been pelleted. Um, but yeah, you don't want your horse to eat too much straw.
Right. Okay. Okay, Peggy says, feed your chopped alfalfa or alfalfa Timothy. Mare does not like pelleted or cubes, wet down, and cannot chew regular hay due to not many back teeth.
I don't know whether it's really a question. She's just telling us she does that.
Okay.
She feeds the chopped because her horse doesn't like the pellets or cubes,
Okay.
which is fine.
All right. Well, trying to read through these, make sure that I'm
I know.
getting. Okay. Oh, well, there's Peggy again. Peggy, you're back. um, Retired barrel mare, 26 years, easy keeper. And maybe she's just kind of looking for some feedback on what she's feeding.
Yeah, I mean, I think what
If
you're feeding is good. And ultimately, here's the kind of, I should be doing it this way, like, if you, the the one that I always go to first is long stem. If I can do long stem, if I can afford it, if I can get it, if I can store it, my horses aren't going to waste it. Long stem's always my choice. Then the next one down, because we're decreasing the fiber length, would be the chopped options, right? We still got some fiber length, but it's not quite, and maybe it's easier because I can get it in a bag, or my horse's teeth aren't great so that they can eat it. And then we go to cubes because we're decreasing the fiber length even more. And then the last one, the last thing is pellets. So that's my ranking of how I would like to feed them. Pellets is my last choice. But that being said, if we're using it as a supplemental source, like I've got my local grass hay, but I'm adding in 5 pounds of a pelleted Standlee product just to boost the nutritional value, then we've got a different reason for doing it. But when it comes to the majority of the forage, I like to be the longer the stem that can work with my horse and my management and my budget, the better.
Excellent. And Kay would like to know, is there a benefit of pellets over cubes?
Only when it comes to actually consumption. The actual nutritional value is exactly the same. It just comes down to getting it down into the hindgut of the horse. So if you've got an old horse that's got no teeth, um, maybe you can soak the cubes, but maybe he still won't be able to kind of grind that down even further. The pellets are always usually our go-to with a horse that has very poor dentition, that we need to soak that so that he can literally drink it. Makes a gruel almost.
And Nancy says, I've noticed that many grass hays in our region have been testing higher in NSCs than in previous years. Even a Teff hay from Oregon tested at 11.7 NSC, all from areas in the Pacific Northwest. One of our local grass hays tested at 19.5 NSC.
Nancy, that is so crazy because I literally just had this exact same conversation with a sales rep from a feed company that I work with in the Northeast, and they were saying the same thing. Now, I don't know what your weather's been like, and in the Northeast, I mean, Vermont has had more rain than they know what to do with, but they have also been seeing higher NSCs than normal. It's weather patterns, I can't put my finger on it, but you know what that does say? It shows how important it is to do a forage test, like get your forage tested for sugars and starches. If the company that you're buying it from doesn't do that testing and give you those values, then really you should seek out doing it.
And this next one, I don't know how much we should say about yet, Dr. Cubitt, but I want to tease it a little bit just because I think it's fun.
Ah,
Karen says, do you have any new products coming out? I'm currently feeding soaked alfalfa Timothy cubes to a 30-year-old gelding that has PPID but is not IR. Wondering specifically about alfalfa Teff cubes. So,
well, we actually have a couple of products, a therapeutic forage and a low carb forage coming out. We've launched them at a veterinarian meeting in the Northeast. I'm not sure whether they're commercially available yet. I think later in the year,
not
but
not quite, but
oh, I'm
they're
gonna sneeze.
coming.
I'm gonna sneeze, but they are coming. I'm gonna sneeze. So stay tuned. Please stay
Yeah.
tuned.
Yep. Fun. Okay, Jennifer would like to know, hay nets and slow feeders, are they bad for horses' teeth? If you can push past the sneeze.
Oh, I know. Don't sneeze, don't sneeze. It keeps just trying to come. So, hay nets and slow feeders, are they bad for horses' teeth? I mean, that's saying that all hay nets and slow feeders are the same, but they're not. So, you can go on Pinterest and look at 50,000 different types of slow feeders that have metal or hard plastic kind of mesh that floats down. And yeah, they're bad for horses' teeth because that hard plastic or metal wears away at them. Um, Hay nets aren't going to wear away at your horse's teeth. So I wouldn't say that they're all bad for horses' teeth. Some, yes. Um, Pick the right one.
Excellent. And remember, if we haven't gotten to your question, if you feel like we missed it, we do have comments coming in, so please go ahead and pop it in there again just so it comes up into my visual perspective and everything. Okay.
I was just
Ed
reading that one.
Edval says, what could be a good substitute for alfalfa pellets when my horse won't eat them? And what could be the reason she's choosing not to eat it?
Out of curiosity, how old is she? And you type it in. We'll try and see it while
I'll
I'm
see if I
answering.
can find it.
Um, you know, alfalfa is great. It's high in protein and calories. If your horse won't eat pellets, if it's more about the form, you could try the cubes or the chopped or the long stem hay. If it's the actual alfalfa she doesn't like, um, she's 10. Okay. So if you said she's 25, then I would have said, wow, old horses just like old people. They come off, go on. She is a mare, so I mean, I have no earthly idea why she doesn't like it. Why do some kids not like candy bars? I don't know. I mean, there's no reason why she doesn't like it. No real. So, but other forages to try if she doesn't have any other underlying conditions, and certainly go with your orchard grass. So there, you may have to add, if you aren't doing grain, you may have to add some calories from grain if she needs weight gain and she won't eat the alfalfa.
Yep. Okay, hopefully that answered your question. And Natalie says, I always worry as winter approaches that my 33-year-old hardkeeper will not be able to keep her weight on. Sounds like alfalfa is a choice for her. Is that right? I also give senior feed, beet pulp, electrolytes, camelina oil, Standlee alfalfa pellets. What else can I add? More alfalfa. She's in a paddock with another horse. Her teeth were just floated.
At 33, if she one day said she wanted to, she's not going to talk, but if she did, and said, I want to eat chocolate chip cookies, have at it. Let her. She's 33. Right now, it comes down to quality of life. You're going to get to a point where she's just not going to maintain her weight over the winter time. That's just the God's honest truth of it. If you want to add more calories to her diet, now is the time to do it. And you're also going to get to a point where you just can't feed her any more food. Like, she's going to max out and say, I'm full. So looking at the ingredients in your program, which one is going to give you the most calories with the least volume is the camelina oil. Bump up the oil content. That's going to give you pure calories without increasing the quantity of what she's feeding.
Excellent. And fun comment here. Got to show this. Patty says that your hay cubes make traveling with my driving pony so easy. We're so glad to hear that, Patty. Thanks for sharing that with us. And Alyssa says, any tips on how to best interpret hay test results?
Yeah, call me. You can send yourself down a rabbit hole. Ultimately, when I am balancing a ration or I'm looking at a hay, there are two columns of numbers, right? You're going to have the dry matter values and then the as fed values. That's the first thing that confuses people is there's two columns of numbers. Which ones do I use? The dry matter, now hay is pretty much all dry matter anyway, but there's still a little bit of moisture in it. So the dry matter values is literally we've taken the hay and we've put it in an oven and taken out all the moisture and then we give you the values. That isn't that practical for the average horse owner because who's cooking their hay? I look number one as the as fed, as sampled. It has a few different names. That's the numbers that I look at. I primarily look at the energy content, the protein content. I look at the ADF and the NDF numbers. They are measures of digestibility and palatability. And then I look at the sugar and starch content. But ultimately, really, right into the Standlee info line, and we can help you to interpret your hay results.
Yes, absolutely. Please reach out to us. Betsy says, my 9-year-old off the track thoroughbred gelding underweight on 1.5 scoops of Purina Advantage twice a day. Not sure how much the scoop is or weighs. Soaked alfalfa pellets, beet pulp, and rice bran, 2 flakes of alfalfa, and Timothy in a slow feeder. Any other suggestions?
If you are on a time crunch and you want to get weight on before the winter, I would be increasing the alfalfa. I would be saying, okay, out with the Timothy for right now and go up with the alfalfa. It's higher in calories and it's going to get the weight on. But again, you're going to get to a point where they're not going to eat any more hay. So maybe you need to bump up the amount of Purina Advantage or add in some oil. For me, I would ditch the rice bran because it's a waste, and I would add oil by itself. Oil is 99% fat, rice bran is 20% fat. So
Excellent. Okay. Jessica says, what do you recommend for anxious horses prone to ulcers? My 21-year-old gelding seems starving all the time and has food aggression and just started weaving in his stall over the last 2 years. I tried free feeding Bermuda in a slow net, but he started to get mild laminitis, so I had to cut back on Bermuda. Nothing seems to satisfy him or help with the ulcers. Have treated with Gastrogard twice before.
Um, you know, how heavy is he? He ultimately, if he has food aggression and weaving and all that kind of thing, we need to make sure that he is getting that food consistently throughout the day. Um, Bermuda, coastal Bermuda grass typically is never going to have enough sugars and starches to do the mild laminitis. So whatever, given though that he did have that, whatever you're going to put in your slow feeder, you need to get it tested first so that we know that it's less than 10% sugars and starches. Um, but yeah, the slow feeder was the right thing to do. We just need to know that we're putting the right thing in it for that horse.
Excellent. And Alyssa says, what percentage of NSC is a good threshold for a horse of average condition in 5 times per week of work?
Depending on the work, if you say it's a racehorse, higher the better because they need the sugar and the starch to make them go fast. Barrel horse, again, you got to go fast. You will not go fast if you don't have enough sugar and starch in the diet. You will have a slow horse. If you just have, let's say, I'm looking at your picture there, and I'm going to assume that maybe it's you do some jumpers, maybe you do some eventing, then you're looking at, middle of the range, 20 to 30% sugars and starches in the total diet. We shouldn't focus on sugars and starches. If there's nothing wrong with your horse and they're eating and they're exercising and they're not overweight, then don't focus on the sugars and starches. You will send yourself batty.
Yeah. Jennifer says, why are the crumbs of hay a horse's favorite? My horses like to flip their hay flakes and nibble the crumbs up before actually eat the rest of the hay.
Now I'm throwing Katie totally under the bus. So
Ah,
before we got online, she's like, oh my God, what's she going to say? Before we got online, she says, I'm going to do something different tonight. I'm going to show this bag of alfalfa that I pulled out of the field or wherever you got it from. It hadn't been in a bale yet. And I'm going to show people. And I said, oh, that looks terrible. It's all stems. She's like, I know. The leaves are on the bottom of the bag. That's what happens sometimes when you handle it a lot.
yeah.
If it was too dry, is all the leaves, especially in alfalfa, will fall to the bottom. That's what your horse is doing. They're eating up all the leaves that are yummy and leaving the stems behind.
Yeah.
It wasn't that
But
bad.
hey, if they eat it all up, though, Jennifer,
And
that's a
that
good thing, right? So
it's
at least they're
why
not
if
leaving
that's
the.
well, if that's a situation that you have, I would definitely be using like a shallow trough to put my hay in or a muck tub or something so they are actually picking it all up.
Yeah. Kay says, does Tifton Bermuda have the same reasons for concern as coastal?
I mean, it's still fine, but from my understanding, it's slightly better nutritional value. So that's what I can say
Okay.
about that.
Excellent. Let's see. What are we at? Okay, we're getting close to time, but I want to see if I can at least fit in um, another question here.
And I don't know whether you saw my private chat, but I want to throw something up at
Oh,
the
yep,
end too.
yep. Okay, Peggy says your chopped hay, alfalfa, and Nutrien senior feed, 1,000 pound retired quarter mare, easy keeper, not many back teeth. Recommendation on amount for proper feeding for winter, stalled at night and does not see bad weather.
So I'm what I'm reading here. She doesn't eat long stem hay. And if that is correct, I'm just going to go with that. And then if she doesn't eat long stem hay and she's an easy keeper, this becomes difficult. We need to make sure that she's still eating 1.5% of her body weight in fiber per day. So we add the senior feed and the chopped alfalfa, and we make sure she's getting a total of about 15 pounds a day spread out. Um, so that's what she needs.
Okay. And Alyssa says, speaking of winter, what dietary changes are suggested for a pasture kept horse? Is there an overall volume percentage increase suggested or a higher protein?
It's not really anything to do with protein. It's more about calories. If your horses are outside and don't get blankets or anything, obviously, if you live in Florida, it's just like normal. I don't know where you're from, but if you live in a colder climate where there's going to be some weather, some drastic weather changes, then the colder it gets, the more calories. I think we've done a webinar on winter feeding, but
Mhm.
certainly the caloric requirement of your horse is going to increase because they have to shiver more to stay warm. So oftentimes it's not about changing the type of hay. It's just about feeding a little bit more. And certainly, if you've had grass available to them throughout the summer, then yeah, you just start in the beginning of winter, you're adding some hay, and then you add more and more. And if you're really, really cold and they're still outside, then you may actually have to add a concentrate feed that's got higher calories.
Excellent. Okay. So we've went past a little bit on our time. I think we've got still within our allotted amount of time, just a little bit later. So we do appreciate all of you for sticking with us through all of this. Feel free to actually join our Facebook group that we have. If we didn't get your question answered, jump on over to the Facebook group because we would like to be able to answer some of these for you. So, this is the Facebook group, The Life We Live, Ride, and Love. And we will link that in the comments so it's easy to click on and find. You can go do that right now as we're kind of closing this up while you're waiting to hear if you won some free product coupons. So go ahead, click, join the group if you haven't yet. We'd love to be able to answer some questions that we didn't get a chance to get to tonight. Another thing that I wanted to let you know is just within 1 or 2 days, we're actually going to have this video available on our YouTube channel, our Standlee YouTube channel. So if you want to go back and review it, or if you want to share it with your friends, if you found it to be helpful, please do that, and you can revisit it. Uh, Also, I would like to invite you to go to our website just so you can kind of keep up to date with us. If you have not joined our email list yet, you can sign up for our primary email list, but then you can also customize which list that you want to join. So if you just have horses, you can just click on that. Maybe you're into, also have poultry or something like that. You can add some of those things to customize the list and the information that you're receiving. And I got to give a little shout out. Make sure you click on the one for Beyond the Barn podcast so you can always know when we have new episodes that are releasing. So be sure to do that. Another couple little things that are special little nuggets. I know that you guys, if you haven't seen yet, you're going to want to check out. We are currently in our Feed Your Passion promotion where you can save $5 when you buy one Standlee bagged or compressed bale product. And this coupon does expire the end of September. So September 30th of 2023. If you haven't gotten your coupon yet, go to our website to get that, print it off, and take it to your local farm and ranch retail store to save $5. And the last cool little thing, if you guys haven't seen yet, we are phasing out our horse pill carrier buckets. Those are 30% off right now for a limited time. So once they're gone, they're gone. So go get it while you can because with our whole rebrand and everything, we've actually repackaged them from a bucket into a bag. And the cool thing is you guys have asked for a softer cranberry center for those pill carriers, and we have delivered. So anyway, you'll be excited to try those out and everything as well too. So other than that, also if you could complete our short survey that we have. Again, we're going to put this in the comments. And on the last previous lives, we've done pretty good with it. But the last live, there wasn't very many people that completed this. So again, if you would like to win some free product coupons, go ahead and click on the link that's put in the comments to go this quick survey. Let us know what you thought of the Facebook Live. Obviously, we had some technical difficulties, but besides that, if you have feedback, maybe there's something else that you would like to, maybe a topic that you would like us to cover for a future one, let us know so we can improve and make these better for you. That's our whole goal with these, is to make sure that we're serving you guys in the way that you need to be served. And we have now come to the time for the 2 winners that we will choose. The survey winner will be chosen and reached out to after we close it next Wednesday. But our winners for this evening, the person who shared our Facebook Live, Alyssa Becker, thank you so much for sharing it. Reach out to me at podcast@standlee.com to be able to communicate with me, give me your contact information so we can get you your coupons. And then our other additional winner is Jennifer Joy. Thank you. Again, email me at podcast@standlee.com so we can get you your coupons. And you guys, thank you so much for being on tonight. We know that it's summer, it's depending on where you're at, fairly nice weather. And so we know there's a lot of places that you can be. And we very, very much appreciate you giving us your time. Actually, and I just thought of one other thing. Dr. Cubitt even mentioned it to me before. We are sponsoring an event, a horse nutrition event with Kemin, and hopefully we can throw this in the comments as well. We'll get this in the comments. But please join us next week. I think it's going on. Is it the 5th and 6th, Dr. Cubitt?
Yeah, it's Tuesday, September 5th and Wednesday, September 6th. And there's some great lineup of speakers. Dr. Duran is giving a presentation on the fundamentals of feeding, keeping your horses nutritionally sound. And that is sponsored by Standlee Premium Western Forage, that particular talk. But there's some great speakers talking about equine colic, probiotics, what else? Metabolic horses, all great presentations, and it's completely free.
Yep.
So yeah, jump onto that, register for that, and jump on. It's great.
Yes, excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we will see you next time. Thank you.